Good morning, good night, good afternoon, you beautiful, beautiful patriots, you and the people that want to become patriots and the ones that are on the fringe wanting to come on in. All right. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. Take a like, subscribe, share for me. You know to click the bell, make sure the algorithms are working, and of course I will leave Mr. Larry Elder down in the comments for you to follow. So here we go. Scott Adams is blowing up. All right. And all the players that should be coming out on the right are doing pretty good with it. I do believe Scott Adams said something to the fact that he told either Fox News or Greg Gutfeld exclamation point, and or both, to stay away from it because it might not be good, might not even help them at all. What he wanted to have was either prominent black disagreeers come out or prominent Republican leading black leaders come out. And I'm going to react to this because I love Larry Elder. I saw he finally, I don't have the date on this quite yet. It looks like 4 days ago. I missed it. But definitely, if you need to listen to a very well-spoken conservative voice that is understanding and can clearly give you multitudes of education on what the two sides are doing right now, this is the man to do it. So without further ado, if there is a commercial that pops up, I'll try to get rid of it. But let's see what Mr. Elder has to say.
Yesterday we played the Dilbert comic strip creator Scott Adams reacting to a poll by Rasmussen, saying at this point, because blacks have become so anti-white, he wants nothing to do with black people who think that way. Now, he mischaracterized the poll. Most blacks, in fact, 53%, say it's okay to be white. 26% said it's not. 21% said they don't know. So, in fact, a quarter of black people disagreed that it is okay to be white, not a majority of blacks, as Adam said. But still, Adam makes a valid point.
Now, hold on just 1 second. In my opinion, I've seen like Jimmy Dore, they kind of just made fun of it. And I'll speak about him a little bit later. But in my opinion, it's almost 50-50 here. Because if you can't answer the poll, and someone taught me that on most of these polls, if you see something 75-25, or if you see like 3 or 4 different questions, but one of them sort of has to be like in the 25% range and under, as a normal rule, they might not be answering the poll correctly or don't understand it. So sometimes you can take 25% out of context. What I think Scott saw was that if you can't answer it or if you say no, it's not good to be, or it's not okay to be white, that he's got to lump them because somebody wasn't. Now, on Jimmy Dore's point, he's saying somebody might have looked at that poll and, was like, this is stupid. So I kind of get that. And I'm a big, huge fan of Jimmy Dore, don't get me wrong. But I just didn't like the segment, the way they handled that one. And I do have a video for that. If you check my video log, maybe I could put a link to that too at the end of this.
As of today, I'm going to re-identify as white because I don't want to be a member of a hate group.
All right, and if you've watched Scott Adams for years, okay, for years, he's always told the black community to take advantage. You know, if you want education, have your parent and or parents make sure you get the proper education, no matter what it takes. And that's where I believe the country lets the black community down. And I could do a whole video on how money is spread around that they put out for public schooling, but it goes by zip code. So that's a whole other video too. And I actually should do that so I can actually refresh my memory on it. So yeah, it sounds funny, right? He identified as black because he said, whenever you see either a system or a community or a race or a good business, if their model, if their system's good, then you want to be on the winning team. So for 3 or 4 years, he absolutely daily, I would say maybe twice a week, and I'm not sticking up for Scott Adams. It's just, I've watched him so long, I know exactly what he did here. I know exactly, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Hold on, let's go.
I'd accidentally joined a hate group. So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people
Here it comes.
is to get the hell away from black people.
Now, you had to have seen, I watched this, and my jaw did drop, actually. But there again, I've watched him so many years. There is no ill will in this. This is called, well, he if he ever watches this, I don't know. I should tag him. But he's going past the sale, folks. That's a term he's come up with, and I don't know. He might say I'm wrong, but he's going past the sale because he's going to take an arrow to the heart for this. Dilbert, got his head blown off. All right, comically speaking. Thank you, YouTube. He sacrificed Dilbert so everybody would bring this to a bubbling point, and everybody would either have to talk about it. This is what the Democrats do. Have to talk about it, or if you don't, then you agree with the old system and the racism and the stuff that he's trying to get out in the open to where you don't get canceled for it.
Just get the away.
Thank God you beat that.
Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed.
After all, we've had affirmative.
When he says there's no fixing this, he's actually challenging the Elon Musks all the way down to the Matt Taibbis and maybe mainstream. Let's fix it. He's not really saying that it can't be fixed. He's saying it so provocatively that if you're a pretty smart person, you're going to go, holy bejesus, I think I need to think on this and I need to solve this problem. That's what he's doing. He's setting a challenge, really.
Affirmative action or race-based preferences now for over 50 years, so that in fact a black kid has an easier chance of getting into a college or university of his or her choice than a white kid.
And trust me, there's other, tan, Asian, whatever. I know there's other races, but this was really just black and white. So that's why he's not talking about other races with getting extra help.
We've had set-asides at least that long, so now a black contractor has an easier time getting a government contract than a white contractor with the same resources. Virtually every major city from New York to Chicago to LA has or has had a black mayor, with many of these cities having had or currently having black police chiefs.
Minus Lightfoot. Yeah, Lightfoot's gone.
And still, when a black suspect is allegedly mistreated by the cops, no matter the race of the cops or whether the city has a black police chief, activists with the support of political leaders like, Barack Obama, yell systemic racism. Take a city like Baltimore, where the per capita homicide rate is 3 times higher than that of Chicago, by the way, where Freddie Gray died in police custody. At the time of Freddie Gray's death, the mayor was black. The number 1 and number 2 people running the police department, black. 3 of the 6 officers charged, black. The state attorney who brought the charges, black. The judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case, black. And who, by the way, found them not guilty. The city superintendent of schools, black. The county superintendent of schools, black. City council, all Democrats, majority black.
Something's telling me here, if you talk about New York, if you talk about Chicago, if you talk about cities in California, at least LA or San Francisco, isn't it funny that Baltimore, other than maybe Freddie Gray, probably a lot of us would be like, if we knew a lot of this. Now, I followed it, so I know Baltimore's rough. But why is it not a focus to improve it bipartisan? I mean, it should just be get in there and clean it up. How come it's kind of like not even on the radar, in my opinion? You don't see, I look at both CNN and Fox just because I have to, but I rely on a lot of you guys out there that put their content up and I watch them. How come Baltimore's kind of not on, and I'm away from Baltimore, so I'm South Jersey, so maybe people around Baltimore or maybe Virginia or Maryland or Delaware maybe know a little bit more about it. But I don't see anything really mainstream unless there's a murder Or, and you'll have to leave me a comment down below. There might have been a real famous either meme video or a news article where a guy, after a huge riot, just took it upon himself to get a broom. He happened to be black. Took a broom and just started sweeping, and they blew up on that. But we'll get back.
The U.S. Attorney at the time, Loretta Lynch, black, as was the President of the United States, Barack Obama, black. Still, many protesters, those in the media, and politicians characterize the death of Freddie Gray as due to systemic racism.
So you have from the top, the tip of the spear, Barack Obama, to a big Baltimore city outside of Washington, D.C., fully, if not, 95%, everybody in charge is black, and blacks aren't succeeding. So they're police chiefs, they're judges, they're mayors, they're presidents, and white people are bad. And by the way, I'm proud to be white, and I'm not afraid to say that.
Now, in the case of Adams, he said he was pro-black, that he supported blacks.
And yes, I love all races, the human race, and I'll pick anybody up that needs help. Of course, I love veterans too.
But now, at a time where blacks are demanding reparations, that is, payments from white people who were never slave owners to be given to black people who were never slaves, where schools are cramming things like critical race theory down the throats of kids and their families, where if you say all lives matter rather than black lives matter, you're considered to be a racist, where if you sneeze the wrong way, you're accused of committing a, wait for it, microaggression. At some point, a lot of people like Adams are saying, I've had enough. This was Don Lemon, not Donald Trump.
Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem.
And I know this is old, and I know he might be in the hot seat right now, but this is a black man talking about black culture. I don't want to say culture because I love black culture. Some idiosyncrasies in the communities. I don't know how to say it. Black life. Listen to what he says.
Here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5.
If there's kids in the room too, turn down the volume a little. He doesn't get nasty, but he's pretty provocative.
Pull up your pants. Walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact, it comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point?
First of all, I don't know that that's true. I will do my own research on that. It's coming from a CNN guy who's black. I do think I think he is, well, you know who he is.
Number 4 now is the N-word.
Oh boy.
By promoting the use of that.
I'm going to go by that one a little bit. Let's try it there.
Now number 3.
Good.
Respect where you live. Start small by not
flagged.
dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here.
And I'll have to tell you, I still, when I'm driving, see people put stuff out the window of their car. That's freaking gross, man. We're not in 1982, 1983. We're in 2023.
Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. A high school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first.
I think that goes for everybody. And I do think we're suffering in a certain way of the population's going down. But I really feel like that family institution and planning needs some parenting. I think it stems from the parenting. I believe my children upstairs know what's happening.
More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison.
Now let me just hit the brakes, yo. We're hitting the brakes here. I want to give a shout out to all races of single mothers and fathers too, but a single parent that brings their child up right, that works their 2-3 jobs, that keeps them, warm in the winter, all that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just tell you a big shout out and big heart. That's probably one of the hardest jobs to do, is by 18 to 21, and you're a single parent. You've churned out some good people, and that deserves huge credit, because I have no ill will to a single parent that did it right, and I feel sorry for a single parent that had struggles. We should figure out that system too, on how to focus on that and help, especially with the education.
And the cycle continues.
Rather than thank Adams for saying out loud what clearly a lot of people feel, including a lot of black people are saying and feeling, so we could have, a healthy discussion about this growing black anti-white racism, if not hatred, Adam is being hounded, shut down, canceled. And notice the most respected black leader in America says absolutely nothing. I speak, of course, about one Barack Obama.
And he should. He should speak
Here's
out.
a man who got elected with a higher percentage of the white vote than John Kerry did 4 years earlier, who walked into the Oval Office the third week of January 2009 with a 70% approval rating, even though he got elected with only slightly more than 52% of the vote. Why? Because even people who didn't vote for Obama felt that at the very least, at the minimum, he could bring us together racially, but he did the opposite.
I gotta agree.
He said, among other things, the Cambridge police acted stupidly. No, they did not. He said racism is in America's DNA. That's a lie. The first time Gallup in the 1950s asked Americans if they would vote for a black president, that number was in the 30s. Now only a tiny percentage of whites say they would not vote for a black person if they thought he or she was qualified.
All right, so on that note, we'll get out of here. One thing I need to stress that I kind of don't feel like I hear other people talking about, and I get it. Most of the bigger pundits, of course, bigger than me, are not focusing on the timing and the content and the statement that poll can do. My opinion, that dropped a grenade in the middle of America. And if anything, it had either two things could happen, three things. One, it could just go away and nothing happened, but Scott Adams ended that. Two, it could just completely tear the country into two. Like I said, the grenade, that didn't happen. And I'm hoping that what happened was, through the use of a poll like this, it gave the smarter people the opportunity to make a statement that's provocative, a statement, if you just hear it like right away, or you hear bits and pieces that people are posting. If you didn't watch the whole show, if you didn't see Scott Adams for at least a year, you're not going to get what he did. He pulled the rug right out of mainstream media racism machine, because racism to the mainstream media, it makes money. And it also makes money for nonprofit. It makes money for Congress and Senate in their political political races. So anyway, that's my take on that. God bless you all. Try to keep some love in your heart. Try to stay calm, cool, and collected. And let me just tell you that they always do it. They go out there. They do it for you. They do it for me. They die for you. So kiss, love, and hug a vet, because they're doing it right now, and they're dying for you while they're doing it. Take care.